Steve Schwartz, he's a longtime professional LSAT coach, and he's the author of several LSAT guides. And he's most well known for creating the popular test prep site LSAT blog and hosting the LSAT Unplugged podcast and YouTube channel, which ends up covering every aspect of the LSAT and the law school admission process. And so I know that, there are listeners out there that are in the process of getting into law school, that are in the process of making a decision whether they want to go to law school, And so I really wanted to have Steve on so that he can talk to that audience and let them know what to expect in particular for the LSAT, because that's definitely one of the key things that law schools look at. And you can talk a little bit more, Steve, if it's, the one thing. In my opinion, I've seen that there's also, other very important components like the personal statement and making sure that you're genuine and authentic in your essays. But I'll let you, the expert, talk about that a little more. But yeah, Steve actually has been coaching since 2005 and went to Columbia for undergrad. And so I'll let Steve add some more information. But Steve, well, first of all, thank you for being on. I really appreciate it. But I want to start with a question for you, and tell us just how is it that you got into LSAT prep coaching, and you've been doing it for a long time, since 2005. So if you can just let our listeners know a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Fernando. So my journey is not really what I expected it would be, but I guess most people's aren't, right? So I was in college. I always thought I was going to go to law school. I would maybe do criminal law or politics or something like that. And I took the LSAT and I got a low score. I got the low 150s, which is maybe not low for some people, but I went to Columbia for undergrad. I thought I was going to go to a top 14 law school. And so that LSAT score was honestly really crushing for me. Mm-hmm. So I thought, man, I'm not smart enough. I'm not going to be able to do this. But I then ended up using that as kind of a fuel where I wanted to beat the exam and prove it wrong. And so I ended up doing every exam ever released at the time. There were 45 exams or so at the time.
Oh my God.
Now there's double that, believe it or not. But it was a lot. So I did all these old exams. I went to the bookstore. I got every book I could find. And I just hammered away at it. And very gradually, very slowly, I got my scores up from the low 150s to finally getting a 175 on test day.
Wow. And remind me that it's out of, is it 180, right?
It's out of 180. Yeah.
Oh my God. You went up a lot. Yeah.
But it took a long time though. I mean, it took over a year, and I certainly wouldn't want to wish that on anybody else because it was a pretty brutal process. And so after that, I had friends asking me for help with the LSAT because obviously I was a poli-sci major. I knew a lot of other folks who were going to law school. And so they wanted help with the LSAT. And I'd actually tutored other things in the past. I had tutored the SATs. I had tutored high school academic subjects. And so once I knew the LSAT, I figured, well, I could start teaching this too. And because it's more niche, there's more demand for it. And it's also more interesting in a way. I think the LSAT's a much more complex exam than a lot of others, like the SAT or even grad level exams like the GMAT or the GRE. It's harder, it's more complex, and you can't cram for it. You can't memorize it. And you also didn't learn any of this in school, right? It's not like the GMAT has math, the GRE has vocab, LSAT has neither. That's not really the focus, right? So it became a kind of obsession for me. And then I started my website, the LSAT blog, and then things really took off. I started posting articles with advice and it got circulated online. This was I started the website back in 2008. And that was kind of earlier days of the internet when there wasn't that much out there about the LSAT. You'd Google LSAT and nothing would come up. And so any article I wrote, it got found. People discovered it and it got forwarded and shared around, and it grew and grew and grew. And then look at me now, over 10 years later, still haven't gone to law school, but that's okay. I love what I do.
Wow. So you didn't you took the LSAT, got a really good score and didn't go to law school?
Yeah, it's funny. And, some people will always say, well, you could go anywhere with that score. Maybe. I mean, my GPA maybe wasn't what it should have been, but at the same time though, it's I know the LSAT so deeply in a way that few other people do. And so if I were to go on to law school, then all that LSAT knowledge, I wouldn't really be able to do anything with it. And I could maybe tutor a little bit on the side or something, but I've got my YouTube channel, I've got my podcast, I have the site itself. And so I wouldn't be able to focus on those. And I also love what I'm doing now. So the question is kind of why change? I think that a lot of my motivations for law school were based on unrealistic ideas of what the practice of law is like. I remember watching things like The Wire and Breaking Bad and thinking those look pretty cool, right? But that's not really what it's about. Of course, there's a lot more that I'm sure you could speak to, but
Yeah.
But the LSAT, I know it, I love it, and so that's why I keep doing it. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.